Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and I would greatly appreciate it if you want to support me, if you want to support the channel, if you would consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. Today, we are going to be talking about Married at First Sight, season 18, episode 14. I hope that's right. Season 18, right? Why am I tripping? And I will also be recapping After Party once again because Ikechi and Michelle were on that joint. So we will be talking about that in tomorrow's video. So look out for the After Party recap. Today we are going to talk about the episode, and boy, oh boy, do we need to talk, y'all. I feel like a lot happened in this episode, and I'm just lost. I'm just lost. So let's just jump into it. So we begin with Carla and Juan. They are meeting up with Leslie, who is Carla's intuitive healer friend.
Line spiritually and just get intuitive messages. So and then I work with the tarot as guides for a lot for you for a visual of what.
Now Carla does claim that Juan has been open to romance and the likes, but his energy has been showing something different, so they are getting a love reading. Now Carla's friend Leslie, she does ask Juan, have you ever had a reading before? And Juan, he makes a face like this. Whenever Juan is uncomfortable or he's unhappy or he's not feeling something, he looks like the smiley face. He literally looks like the smiley face. He's like, no. So the friend she's reading a card, she's doing all this, and immediately she's like, you guys are definitely soulmates, but I am sensing an energy block. And I'm like, come on, please get this off my screen. And I'm not even someone who's opposed to tarot or thinks that tarot is all woo-woo, but like, this is just crazy. Coincidentally, the two of y'all are soulmates. So Carla does say that she feels like it is a tango of energy between them. One of them will pull back and then the other one pulls back in response, and it's just kind of this back and forth. Now, the friend asks Juan, look, do you feel like you have walls up, or do you feel like it is hard for you to be vulnerable? And he says, oh, for sure. Like, I married a stranger. I don't know what's going on. So, of course, for me, it is a bit tougher. So the friend does dive into the physical, and Juan says, look, we're not really there yet. But the friend's like, you're ready to share more though, right? And Juan's like, he makes the face again, and I'm like, what is this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Okay, Juan is another one who is checked out. So why are we doing this? So Carla says that she has no doubts that Juan tries to, that she's being natural to her feelings. Okay, she's usually a more loving person, she's usually a more affectionate person, but because Juan isn't like that, she has kind of pulled back as well and has gotten to this point where she doesn't feel comfortable being vulnerable, being affectionate, anything of that nature. So the friend tries to tell Juan, look, I think that you are a very analytical person. I picked that up. And I do think that maybe your analytical mind is getting in the way of you embracing this experience because it is a stranger. You don't know what's going on. And Juan is like, yeah, I'll take that into mind. Thank you. You can tell that Juan is not into this. But stay tuned for the after party episode because Carla was on there too, and Carla spilled a little tea about it. Anyway, after the reading, they sit down and they kind of reconvene afterwards. And Juan is like, look, I'm not really a huge fan of tarot readings. I don't feel like some cards are going to determine my destiny. For me, I try to live life on more of a blank slate, not really, because I feel like the tarot gets into your head and then you start to think that that's the only way that things could be. So he's not reading too much into the cards, in other words. Camille and Thomas. So they are talking about decision day. Tom says is a decision that's going to be made for the rest of our lives. So we have to really take that into account. Camille does say that she feels good, but they do need to figure out more of the logistical things, such as where they're going to live, their leases, everything as that. So Camille tries to dive into this conversation with Tom about, where are we going to live after this? I know we both have our leases, and so I'm just kind of wondering what's going to happen. So she wants to know, will we spend time apart, and just kind of have date night, basically? Are we going to divide back and forth between each other's homes? Where is this going to go? But Camille is getting very frustrated again, as she tells us in the confessional, because she feels like she is the only one that is really making decisions for their future. She would rather Thomas take a little more of the lead on this and sort of think about these things. And I do find it interesting because I think because we don't really have any real couples, we haven't seen a lot of this conversation. Typically, we will get okay, so where are we going to live? What are we going to do? How many more months do you have on your lease? But because none of the couples outside of Thomas and Camille are even close to a point of being actually a couple after this and saying yes on decision day, I guess they are the only couple we see having this conversation. But Tom says, because we're married, we should be spending the majority of our time together. I would like to do that. So I guess they're going to be splitting time between each other's houses. So Dr. Pia and Eem. So Eem reveals to Dr. Pia that there has been no communication whatsoever between her and Akechi. So at this point, she realizes there is no commitment. She does reveal they did not speak at all when he was out of town. Remember, Akechi promised that he was gonna, text her morning and night and check in on her. That didn't happen. And now he's back and they still have not talked. So Akechi shows up. Akechi walks in the room, bare face, sits down, greets Dr. Pia, does not even look at Eem. And even Dr. Pia finally clocks this and is like, are you not going to greet your wife? And he's like, what? Like, I'm just sitting down. Like, I don't know. She's like, no, but you walked in, you're talking to me and you don't even greet your wife. What is this? Like, Dr. Pia couldn't take it. And Casey's like, no, I wasn't trying to ignore her. Like, I was just talking to you. And like, I wasn't doing it at the expense of Eem. Like, I was going to say hi to her too. Sure, Akechi, you always have that look on your face, that ugly ass look on your face. And I'll say it.
Well, we agreed that moving in might not be the best move or the best step. And we were just busy this weekend. I was doing stuff and she was doing stuff.
So Dr. Pia brings up the phone call that Eem and her had, the check-in that she and Eem had, and she's basically like, what happened? And Akechi's like, well, we were both busy this weekend. I was busy. And she's like, you don't have phones? Your phone doesn't work? I really liked how Dr. Pia was not having it. So he claims that the reason that he didn't communicate with Eem was because he wanted to take the weekend away to just reconvene with everything, to center himself. He really needed solitude and safety this weekend. And Eem's like, okay, well, that was not communicated to me, because Dr. P is like, so did you communicate with Eem that you were taking this security and solitude and safety weekend, whatever you're talking about? And Eem is like, no, I didn't know anything about that. So Akechi goes on to say he does not communicate with Eem because things get misconstrued or thrown back into his face for things they agreed on in the past.
Mm-hmm. What does moving forward look like in terms of being able to communicate? Because what I'm seeing right now looks toxic.
And Eem's like, I'm going to need you to tell me what you're talking about because I have no idea what you mean. So he says, conversations do not progress. They go 10 steps forward and then 20 steps back. And once again, Akechi's favorite thing to do is talk in circles, ignore questions, not answer the questions, and not give any kind of explanation for what he's saying. Akechi comes on camera, he says a bunch of stuff, and he just expects that people are going to take his word for it. It's absolutely unhinged. He says things to the experts ask him to explain, he has no explanation. Anyway, so he goes on to say that she brought up the week that they didn't communicate, and Eem's like, okay, but I had to diffuse you during that conversation because it wasn't going well. And he's like, I don't need you to talk for me. Actually, you didn't diffuse it. You amplified it. That was the word he used. You amplified it. And Eem's like, what? So once again, gobbledygook doubles down. Ikechi doubles down on the fact that communication with Eem doesn't feel good. Whenever they communicate, it doesn't feel good.
Making it be about the way that she needed it to be?
Not to nitpick, but there were moments, and I just kind of wanted to bring it back to something else. It's navigating, like, say.
So Dr. P is like, okay, what about the ice cream date you guys had? Eem says, that was the first time that we had a civil conversation in a long time. I hadn't seen him in a few days. It went well. So Dr. P is like, okay, Ikechi, so this is an example, right, where she didn't bring things up. She didn't turn it into anything. She didn't escalate the situation as you claim she does. So what about that? Ikechi's like, I don't mean to be like this, but actually during that time, she did nitpick things. And remember, I came down on Eem that episode for saying, oh, you know, talking about the wedding ring, knowing very well that man doesn't wear that wedding ring. But still, Ikechi, it went mostly well. So Dr. Pia is like, Ikechi, can I ask you a question? Do you want to be in this marriage? Yes or no? Ikechi replies and says, well, it doesn't feel like one. So Dr. P is like, in a marriage, you have to communicate. That has to be the way it is. In order to get to know each other, you have to talk to one another. Because again, Ikechi's frustration is that he has to talk to Eem, that Eem speaks to him. You can say whatever you want about Eem being annoying and she asks too many questions and this and that and the next thing. Yes, we have all admitted that we kind of see that Eem is a person who does like to get into the nitty gritty. But nonetheless, let's not pretend that if Eem didn't try to strike up conversation through asking these questions, Ikechi would not say a word to this woman. We see that when Eem finally fell back, Ikechi did not communicate with her. Period. So you can't blame her for getting kind of in a spiral. So Dr. Pia is asking, is there a way to communicate in this marriage? Is there a way that you can figure out that this can work? Because that's what it's going to take. Ikechi says he does not have a want or a desire to continue in the marriage. Again, straight face, no emotion. At this point, Eem gets up and goes to the bathroom to cry. And I want to take a moment here because I know that we all are very hard on Eem. I know that we've all said, girl, just leave, girl, just leave. But I do think we need to have a little bit of empathy for her, at least for me, as a Black woman to another Black woman. I'm going to have a bit of empathy for Eem this episode because here's the reality. Eem came into this experience expecting a marriage, expecting that she was at least going to get to go through the process. Remember Eem's story. She was very into her work. Her father had told her to be very into her work. Her father recently passed away. She's finally at the pinnacle of her business. And now she feels like she has some time to devote to love. And for Eem, she never got the experience, y'all. Ike did not try, not one time. There was, from the literal minute they got back from the honeymoon, Ikechi was out. And not only that, this man has been defaming her, painting a narrative of her that is not true. Yes, there may be times where Eem asks questions. We all know a person in our life that asks a few too many questions. The narrative that Ikechi has tried to paint of this woman is completely false and defamatory. He's been very nasty to her. He's been very rude to her. He's stonewalled her, and he's been very dismissive. So I can understand as Eem how it is hard. Yes, of course. For us sitting on our couches or on our beds watching this show, it's easy to say, get out. You should want to get out. Go find something else. But just put yourself in her shoes, where she at least expected to come into this experiment and go through the process. And she has not gotten to do that because the man that supposedly is a good match for her, a good pair for her, has stonewalled her from day one. So when I saw her get up and go to the bathroom and cry, it's like there really wasn't empathy there. And I know I have also been harsh on Eem. I'm not going to pretend like in my reviews I have not been a bit harsh on her. But I do really want us to sit down and have a bit of empathy for her because it is a sad situation. And even watching this now, Eem hasn't even talked to this man. And he still has a laundry list of things that she does wrong. It's sad to watch. So Dr. Pia talks to Ikechi while Eem's in the bathroom and is like, so what do you think just happened? And Ikechi says, I think that it's hard for her because it's the loss of basically the dream. She really wanted a marriage and it didn't really go that way. He says, it's hard for me too because I also wanted to be in this experience. F you, Ikechi. No one cares if it's hard for you. So Dr. Pia asks him, do you want to change that? Even for yourself. And he's like, look, it's like a broken car, starting it up, having to keep starting it up. I don't want to battle anyone anymore. At this point, Eem returns and she is apologetic. Eem says, look, I never wanted you to think that I was trying to intentionally hurt you. That was not my intention, and I really don't want to feel that way, and that was not my intention. I came into this with the intent of making this work. This is a marriage, and that's what I wanted. But I don't want to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you, and I do apologize. And Keiichi just stares into space. Doesn't even acknowledge her. He is so rude and so nasty. For you to be looking like a damn goblin the way you do, he is such a nasty man. I mean, this man doesn't even look at her. I don't know. It's just sad to me. Like, I felt very, very upset for Eem this episode because this man is a nasty piece of work. Nasty, nasty piece of work with that big ass mole on his face, too. I'm tired of Ikechi. I'm tired, y'all. I'm done. So, Eem says, moving forward, she would like to continue in the marriage because Dr. Pia asks, do you want to keep this going? Like, are we going to keep this going? And she does want to continue. And Dr. Pia's like, why? Even Dr. Pia is like, why? And she's like, hold up. She's like, look, but what I will need is for him to want to be committed to the marriage. That's what I need to continue. So Ikechi says that he knows he can be committed to the marriage, but he also knows how he felt and he doesn't want to continue to put each other down. So Dr. Pia leaves and they go outside. And they're standing there awkwardly for a couple of minutes. And Ikechi's like, you want to go across the street to the arcade over there? He's like, I'm gonna whoop your ass. And they go away, arm in arm, to the arcade.
He's hurting, and I don't know what is the root of that, but I've never stopped caring about the person that I married. I never.
Talk about mixed signals. What in the world is going on? Talk about mixed signals. For a second, I was like, oh, are they playing us? Like, I was literally like, wait a minute, is this like a fake storyline and they actually like each other and they just playing us for the TV? Because I was like, what? They walked away arm in arm. Okay. Madison and Allan. So we get the sleep cam of Madison arriving home at 3:43 a.m. And she's tiptoeing into the house, trying to sneak in. Allan's sleeping on the couch. And Allan opens up an eye, he like mumbles something to her in a half sleep, and he goes back to bed. So in the morning, we get a confessional of Allan who claims that Madison has now made some changes since their incident that they had. She'll check in with him, she'll let him know that she's gonna get home really late, but he still feels like it is very sad that she would rather go out drinking and dancing with her friends than hang out with her husband. At this point, Allan, she don't want you. I mean, she has not wanted you the whole time. She's sort of kind of played the game a little bit better than some other people on this show, but she don't want you. She don't want you. She out every night till 4 a.m. while you're at home sleeping on the couch. She don't want you. She don't want you, Allan. Do better. Do better. Because she don't want you. Allan, another one who's going through it. Another one who is definitely going through it. So Michelle and Eem, they meet up for dinner, and Michelle is filling Eem in on the call with Denise. Now, she's like, look, I bet that, Denise kind of filled him in on everything and let him know that I called because he did recently text me saying, hey, can you stay up late one night so we can talk after I get out of work? So Michelle at this point feels that David may be texting another woman, and Eem's like, do you have any ideas of who? Is anybody in your head? And she's like, look, I'm spiraling, okay? I'm going through all these different thoughts. Could it be this person? Could it be that person? And I don't have any real reason for this, but I feel like it could be Madison. She said it. It could be Madison. She says, look, Madison is David's type, okay? And she's like, while I can't see Madison going for David, I could 1,000% see David going for her. Yes. Unfortunately, Michelle, I think David got the wrong blonde white woman. I think they did a little mixy, the experts, and they gave David the wrong blonde white woman. Anywho. So she also mentions how they've been coordinating gym workouts, and it's just overall been weird. And we all have thought it's been Madison, girl. All of us. We all, the whole world. I think we will all be in shock if it is not Madison. So Eem fills Michelle in on how Iky said he doesn't want to be part of the marriage anymore. And Michelle's like, oh my God. And Eem's like, he's not serious though. He doesn't mean that though. He still wants to be in it. And Michelle's like, she's like, look. After the whole thing happened, he asked me to go across the street to the arcade, and we played all night and had a great time. She's like, really? Eem's like, look, he does this back and forth, this hot and cold thing, but he's not done. Poor Eem. Poor Eem, because she is looking for a sliver hole. And Iky knew what he was doing. The thing is, people like that know what they are doing. And Iky knew very well that Eem is looking for any sliver of hope. So he played with her to feel like he has power. And he knew he was going to snatch it away. But Iky wanted to feel like for once in this relationship, he has some power. And that's why he played with her like that. Eem talks about how he was so elevated the entire time. And she, once again, triples down on the fact that she is in this marriage until she's not married anymore. Talks about how she's dated worse guys. Everyone has their thing, everyone has their flaws. So until she's not married anymore, she's still married. And again, I said it. We need to empathize with the Eem. But it is still frustrating. It is so frustrating. So Allan and Michelle meet up with Dr. Pia. Madison expresses that they have some miscommunications at times, and then they get so frustrated and communicate with each other even less. So when this happens, she explains that she really doesn't like to be at home in this awkward environment when they're kind of in a fight. So Allan does say that he understands this, but when you're back at 2 or 3 a.m., it's a lot. Madison explains again that, during these times, she wants to diffuse things. So she'll want to grab a drink with her girlfriends and just kind of get out of the place. So Allan's like, yeah, but when it's 2 or 3 days a week, and Madison's like, it's not. They roll the clip back and they show 3 days in a row that Madison gets home past 2 a.m. First off, forget even being married. What grown adult with a 9-to-5 job is out until 2 a.m. or later every single night? I don't know anybody like that. Even the people I know that go out the most are now going out 3 weekdays in a row. Madison, no, 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 no. There is no way that this woman at her big age is arguing that her husband should be okay with her doing this to him. And we obviously get it. She doesn't like him. But come on, Madison. Come on. You know, I've always been one for just because you're married doesn't mean you can't go out with your friends, you can't have a good time, you can't go out dancing occasionally. But this is too much. If you want to be out every night, be single or casually date. Because no man that you are with is going to be okay with it. And you have said that yourself, Madison. You yourself have said previous partners have called you out for this. So it's not just an Allan thing. I couldn't believe it, child. They showed 3 nights in a row of this woman being out every day. So she replies like, okay, yes, I do go out more than Allan. But it's just my lifestyle and it is what it is. Well, it is what it is. Bounce on out then. Ooh, Madison kind of irritated me today. So Dr. P is like, is there a way to tone that down? Because, you should spend time with your husband. Madison replies that this is the most that she's been with a significant other, so sometimes she just needs to diffuse and be able to sound off with friends. Now, Allan replies and says, well, I don't go to friends with my relationship issues or anything like that. Instead, I sit in my own head and I just really have nightmares. I even had a dream one night that, Madison got picked up by another guy. And when he said this, I go, I laughed a little bit. Not because I feel bad for Allan, okay? But I was like, Allan, why you gotta tell us that? And you remember last week he had the dream about the show being turned off and Allan, stop telling us about your nightmares, okay? Stop telling us about your nightmares. So Madison's like, okay, so how do I handle not wanting to be in the same space when something goes wrong? Dr. P is like, you do realize that 2 people, a couple, you guys can be in the same house even if you're not the happiest with each other, right? Like, one of you can be in the bedroom, one of you can be in the living room. And as someone who lives with my partner, yeah. Do you think that every single time we get into a disagreement or we get irritated with each other, we leave the house? That is very toxic behavior and very avoidant behavior because you have to also be able to talk about things. With Madison, she'll go out for hours and hours and hours, and then she and Allan don't talk about anything. So once again, Madison apologizes, says she's so sorry for going back to her old ways, understands how it could have felt for him, and she's really sorry. I need to start a tally of Madison apologies because I feel like we have entirely too many. So, Michelle and David and the conversation. Dun, 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 dun. David sits on down on that couch. He puts that backpack down on the counter. He just got back from work. And he says, look, I'm going to just cut to the chase. The message was supposed to be to another girl. I realized I effed up immediately and I deleted her contact information. Her name is Tiffany. She sent me a picture in her outfit, and to which I responded, you so fine, I want to eat you up.
We had been talking that night, probably for about a week or so, and she had asked me what I was doing that night, told her I was out, asked her what she was doing, she sent a picture.
And I was only talking to her really that day. Like, I don't know her previously. I was only talking to her that day. It wasn't anything serious. Boom. That's the story. Take it or leave it. And Michelle's like, so why should I believe you now? David's like, that's on you. And she's like, don't turn anything on me. He's like, I'm not. He's like, I'm telling you the truth right now. And if you don't believe it, that's on you. I'm like, oh, not too sassy now, David. Not too sassy now. Do I believe David's story? No. The story is fake as heck. Okay, I do not believe David's story for 1 second. Mythical Tiffany, aka Madison. The story's fake. The story's fake. But they go back and forth for a little while. And David's like, look, David ultimately breaks down and he's like, look, I was embarrassed about this whole thing. That's why I did not come clean to you immediately. And the real thing is, I felt like I was not getting affection in this relationship. I felt like I was being constantly rejected by you. It felt like I wasn't getting what I needed. So yes, I had a lapse in judgment and I stepped out. I do realize it was wrong. It was not what I was supposed to do. But again, like I was just embarrassed about this whole thing.
Up. And it's embarrassing as a man, a son, and as a husband. That's not me.
I don't know who you are actually anymore. I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't. Because I thought
That I think is the truth, right? I think the story David told is false. I still think this was probably to Madison, but I do think that at the crux of it, that is the real problem. And the thing that we all know and we all understand. And that's why, David, we were all rooting for you because all you had to do before you did this thing is just say, hey, Madison, Michelle, it's not gonna work, okay? I'm looking for something else. I want somebody who likes me for who I am. Like, I don't know, like nobody out here, like no man in particular is going to just be around with a woman who is constantly berating him. We all know this. So that's why it's like, all we wanted you to do, David, was say something. And the fact that he doesn't want to say something leads me more to think that it's Madison because he can't admit that it's Madison because Madison's also in a marriage. Because I just feel like if it was a random Tinder girl, why would he not just be like, you know what, Michelle, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But you got to put the clues together. That's why it's Madison. Okay. So Michelle is like, again, still confused why he didn't admit earlier that this is the way that he felt because it could have potentially made them closer. So Michelle is like, were you gonna bring this up if this situation didn't happen? Were you gonna tell me you felt that way?
that you've picked this timing now to change your storyline.
If it really, really mattered and it was really a big deal, this conversation could have had Monday, but you decided to pick on Friday and then just throw it.
Blah, blah, blah. You thought my honesty was sexy. Blah, 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 blah. David's like, yeah, okay. I thought it was sexy before. I don't think it's sexy now. Like Michelle irritated me. I ain't gonna hold you. Michelle was doing a lot. And Michelle, sis, don't think we like you. Okay? We don't like you. We do not like you, and we are not excusing your behavior. It's just that David, he did a little too much last time. So he's like, if things were better, then this wouldn't have had to happen in the first place. Michelle gets upset at some point because she feels like David is continuously bringing the conversation onto her, and she storms out and leaves with her bags. And David is talking with the producer afterwards, and he's like, look, like the girl sent me an outfit, and then I responded, you so damn fine, I want to eat you up. Okay, that's what happened. If she doesn't believe it, I don't know what to tell her. And once again, do I think David's story's cap? Yeah, I do. Yeah, what really happened, and again, watch this after party episode because Carla drops a little more tea on what happened the night that this all happened. Because Carla, Madison, and David, they were all together that night, and Carla drops a little more tea about what happened at the club. So watch the after party recap episode that I'm dropping tomorrow, okay? So Camille, Thomas, and Pastor Cal. So Camille says she's been happy with things. It's not like previous relationships where things were hot and heavy in the beginning and then there was nothing really deep. Yeah, Camille, them thugs weren't giving you what you needed, right? So Pastor Cal asks if they've made concrete plans for what they're going to do after the show. And they once again discuss that they have their leases and that whole thing. So Pastor Cal is like, okay, so what's going to kind of be the deal with that? Since you guys have two separate places, you're obviously going to be married. And Tom is like, well, we're planning right now to probably alternate between each other's places until things are done. Pastor Cal says, you know, that's weird, right? That's like children. It's like, Pastor Cal, oh nah, Pastor Cal. Yo, Dr. Pia and Pastor Cal this season are so done. I don't know. Let me tell you, I haven't watched Maths in 5 years. This is the first time I've watched in literally 5 years. So anyway, But they just seem like they are so done this season. Now, he's like, okay, so is there an option to sublet? And Tom's like, I could look into that. Like, my lease will probably almost be done. So, yeah, I'll have a likely chance of being able to sublet. And Camille lets us know in the confessional that she feels great about that he's going to take the lead on that. Because, again, Camille wants a leader. So, Juan and his friend Ale. So, Juan is letting Ale know that he and Carla are getting along well. They have a good friendship. Living together is fine. There's nothing wrong there. They have a good bond and friendship, but the intimate relationship is lacking. So he lets Ale know that they have been diving kind of into things that Carla likes recently. They did tantric yoga. They did the tarot reading, all of these different things. Juan lets him know he's not really big on all of this like spiritual type of stuff. He likes meditating. He's not really into the other stuff. And for him at this point, it's a little too much burning sage. It's a little too much burning Palo Santo. It's a little too much crystals around the house. For him, he's just not into it. It kind of feels like a fantasy world to him. So he reiterates that like tarot cards, they don't dictate your life. And he doesn't want to say, oh, I got this reading and this is what it is. He feels like it's his own decisions. Once again, on After Party, Carla clears up a little tidbit about Juan and his supposed lack of desire to spiritual attraction. So stay tuned. So, Madison and Allan go to a stylist. I guess Madison's Rue 21 shirt and jeans is supposed to be style. I'm not going to talk about it, guys. They go to a stylist. Allan tries on some outfits. Michelle says, oh my God, you look hot in one of those outfits. And then Allan says in the confessional, oh my God, if my wife thinks I look good, then I'll do this for her. And once again, Allan gets a glimmer of hope that this is going to be a thing. Whole time, Madison is all the way in David's ocean by now. Okay. Camille and Thomas, they go out for fondue. So Camille has never lived anyone, asks him, is there any preference on bills? Tom says if it's dual income, both people are making money, he feels like expenses should probably be split. So Tom is a 50-50 king. Camille didn't seem to have much of a reaction to that. I'm surprised as somebody who wants a leader. I'm surprised she didn't have more of a reaction to that. So Tom has considered subletting his apartment. Camille does say like driving back in. Camille asks if he has considered subletting his apartment. She's talking about how driving back and forth is going to be a lot. Tom doesn't really give an answer, but again, we get a confessional of Camille saying, look, like I am very, very concerned about what will happen after decision day. I feel like Tom is really not taking the lead on these decisions. It doesn't seem like he really cares. So once again, she's wondering what it will look like after decision day if she looks at Tom and says, well, that was nice. Camille. Now, I get it. I will say I do get it. Thomas, look, I like Tom, okay? I do think Tom has a bit of a passive personality. It does definitely feel like Tom is one of those more, we'll see what happens when it happens type of people. So I could understand a little bit of Camille's frustration with wanting to figure out what they're going to do after decision day. But for Camille, that should be running through her head like, maybe Tom is not as sure as I think he is. Because I've already said it. I do think there is a world where Tom says no to her. I do. I know everybody thinks that he is in the bag. I think there is a world where he says no to her. And maybe Camille should be taking that a little more into consideration and asking him, instead of, what are you going to do with the apartment? Being like, how do you feel about decision day? Where is your head at? Where is your head at with us? Asking maybe different questions than the one she's asking. All right. So after that, we have Allan and Madison. So we get a scene of Allan opening up his Smile Direct Club Invisalign liners because Madison at some point said something about his teeth. I'm like, come on, dude. This girl is so mean to him. Like, come on. First off. Second of all, Smile Direct Club has been closed down because those liners were effing up people's teeth. because you don't go to a real dentist. You take pictures of your teeth with your phone. So I don't know when they filmed this. I think in 2023, I heard. But Smile Direct Club is no more because it's literally messing up people's teeth. So Allan returned them joints. So all of the couples are packing for the retreat. We get Juan shaving his beard and putting on a poncho. We get all the different couples doing their thing. So David has decided that he is going to the retreat, but no one knows he's coming. And Eem and Michelle drive down together. So Madison and Allan make it first. Then Eem and Michelle pull up. Michelle, of course, lets the group know that David confessed that there was no food picture. So David pulls up next, and Madison, baby, she gives him the biggest, most enthusiastic hug. And even Michelle, because they panned to Michelle's face, and Michelle saw that too. I was like, not y'all doing that right here, right now. So it's a little awkward with them all sitting on the couch, sitting there silently when David pulls up. And Madison is like, hey, Allan, can you bring over a knife to cut the tension? And then Allan does genuinely bring a knife. I thought that was kind of funny. So now Carla and Juan, they finally arrive hours later than everyone. And Allan is the chef for tonight, okay? I think they were having shrimp tacos. Thomas and Camille are last. And then our surprise guest, Iky, pulls up.
It's a simple meal, and I hope you all enjoy it. So just start passing it around.
He pulls up into the house with a folder. They're like, hey, Iky, welcome. Iky goes to the corner. They're like, so would you like something? He's, I'm allergic to shellfish. I can't come over. All right. So he doesn't say hi to anyone, doesn't smile, but he comes over to Eem. He's like, hey, can we talk real quick? Pulls Eem aside. He says, look, I just came to put everything to bed. We've had some good moments. We've had some bad moments. But at this point, I just think it's best to cut everything off.
I don't think that this is the page I signed. There's nowhere to actually sign this. This is only page 1. This is not a legal form. There's not.
Understood.
This is page 1 of 4.
Understood.
If I had 2, 3, and 4, I'd sign that.
Could you sign the document?
No.
So he's like, here you go. She's like, what is this? Is this divorce papers? She opens the folder. There is one singular paper in the folder. And Eva was like, what is this? This is one paper. Paper 1 of 4. Is this supposed to be divorce papers? Because where do I sign? He's like, He's like, can you sign a document? He's like, can you just sign it? And she's like, no, I can't. I sign legal paperwork. He's like, it's just a formality. Just sign it. Can you just sign it? She's like, no. She's like, if you bring me a legal document, I will sign it. Believe me, I will give you your divorce. But I only sign legal paperwork. This man pulled up to this dinner with a folder with one piece of paper in it. That man probably went online, typed in Illinois divorce papers, went on Google, got an Illinois divorce paper template and printed that out and pulled up and gave that to Eem, expecting her to sign it as a formality. Excuse me? It is a cold day in hell before you come bring me a paper and tell me to sign it as a formality. You ain't gonna have my signature on some paper to try to superimpose my signature on some paperwork later. Oh, heck. I was proud of Eem for that, because no way. Don't bring me no non-legal paperwork. In fact, don't bring me paperwork unless my lawyer is gonna look at it. So whatever, Iky storms out. He doesn't stay. He says he claims from the beginning he knew it was over. You piece of shit. You piece of shit. Oh, I don't like this man. Oh, put this man in the bucket with Chris, in the bucket with Clay from Love is Blind. Put him in that bucket. Oh, I don't like this man. He says that she wanted a husband to fit the mold and he's not everyone's cup of tea. All right, bye, Iky. I hope we never see you again. Period. This man is diabolical. Coming up to this dinner with one piece of paper asking this woman to sign it. Ooh, I don't like it, Keiichi. So Eem goes back to the dinner. She says, look, I know he did all of that to get a reaction out of me, just like at the dinner with all of you guys. That's why he did it in front of everyone. And that's the thing, clown. You came here to embarrass her in front of everyone. In what world do you think anyone's on your side, Keiichi? You clown. Someone at the table brings up, it's crazy because he's a teacher and the kids he teaches are going to see this example on TV. I think that's true. That's very true. You are an educator and that's the way you treat somebody you don't like? How about if your students don't like another student? Are you going to tell them, hey, go embarrass them in front of everybody? That's what I thought. Tom does say he was never really able to connect with Keiichi because he always had advice for everybody else, but never really had any self-reflection. And that is true. We always hear about what was done wrong to him, what was done wrong to him, what was done wrong to him. We never hear about what he needs to do to be better. Good riddance. I hope we never see a Keiichi on this show again. So they do talk a little bit more about how all the other couples are doing at the table. So Juan says that he dove into Carla's world this week, romance and intimacy and things like that. They are trying to see if it is there, if the romance, the chemistry, the intimacy is there. Carla does feel like they are married in their own way, but she does miss the physical affection that, with others. She's more of an affectionate person. And because Juan is not there, she has put up walls, but she has had to let that go at the same time. So Michelle says, I think David wants to go next. David says, I tried really hard in the beginning, put all my eggs in one basket, but I had an FO. Obviously, I apologize to all of you guys because I did lie to you. The photo was for another, the text message was for another woman. We at the end of the video, y'all. He says, he was embarrassed as a husband, a friend, whoever, whatever. But he says he was not getting the affection and the attention he thought he would get in the marriage. Thomas does appreciate him for owning up. He's starting to say that. And Michelle chimes in and says, hey, actually, I had to call his cousin to get him to own up, okay? It wasn't like he just did it on his own accord. He lied to me for days, several days. So once again, Michelle brings up her parents' divorce and how triggering this is for her and that she felt like they were doing better and that everyone could see the progress, and then they do this. Were y'all doing better, Michelle? You're another one. You're another one. Was it really better in your eyes, Michelle? Okay. Now she says she does not want to try anymore and her walls are completely back up, David says, okay, well, in this relationship, I haven't gotten a how was your day, a hug, a cuddle, a kiss. Michelle turns around to Madison and says, have you two, Madison and Allan, kissed since your honeymoon? And Madison says, no, or Allan, says no. And Madison's like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm done with this. Like, I'm not gonna do this, okay? Like, I don't really like this. And she gets up and leaves. Like, immediately. And as the question is asked, Madison is clearly getting more and more upset. She's clearly feeling triggered because she's talking about her man. And that is where we leave off on the episode. Once again, check out my after party video. Michelle talks a little bit more about this scene. Like I said, I will be dropping the after party recap video tomorrow. Michelle, Keiichi, Madison, Michelle, Keiichi, who was the third person? Why am I tripping? Oh, and Carla. Sorry. Michelle, Iky, Carla. They were on After Party. So watch out for that video tomorrow. But if you made it to the point in this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the After Party recap that should be up very soon. Bye!